Hey everyone, James Labrie from Dream Theater, and you're listening to or watching the podcast Talking Into Infinity with JT and Brian. Enjoy this. These guys are extremely informative. I love their dialogue. I love their interpretation of the songs, who and what we are, what we were going after. They're very accurate in their interpretations and descriptions, and I just think this is a great show, and these guys are doing a stand-up stellar job. So once again, enjoy Talking Into Infinity with JT and Brian.
What's up, guys? Welcome to a special bonus episode of Talking Into Infinity, a Dream Theater-centric podcast. I'm your host, John. Brian will be jumping on in just a minute. In fact, here he is right now. What is up, man? Kind of, we've done a few special episodes before. This one, unfortunately, is kind of a sad one. It's I'm sure Dream Theater fans have heard already, but it was announced earlier today by both Mike Portnoy and the band that Charlie Dominici has passed away. He, of course, is the original vocalist of Dream Theater, who appeared on their debut record on Mechanic Records, When Dream and Day Unite. Got a few people checking in. JG3 says, "Hey, John, Jay does not like you anymore, Brian." So what's up, Jay? Good to see you. Doug McCauley, good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in. He says, "R.I.P. Charlie." Yeah, this is I think a lot of fans, Brian, aren't aware of the first record, which has always been weird to me. A lot of fans still think that Images and Words is their debut album. But you and I have talked at length about this album on the show, and I think it's highly underrated. You yourself originally didn't like it, and going through the songs and the record a couple times on the show now, you've actually kind of grown an appreciation for it. So, talk a little bit about that, because I think Charlie's voice, while it does get some derision from a lot of fans, I actually didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was very Geddy Lee-esque, which I would think that appeals to you, because you're a huge Rush guy. But I enjoy the record, and I thought Charlie was really cool. So, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, can you hear me all right? I had a little audio issue when I first started up.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can hear you, which to me is an audio issue. But continue.
And I forgot my pop screen still. So if there's a lot of popping, I apologize.
That's okay.
Yeah, man. I saw this morning and texted you, and you were like, "Whoa," not like I'm a news breaking guy. I just happened to see it on the internet like everyone else. And yeah, man. I mean, it's an interesting thing. We've talked before how the first album is so different and unique compared to the other ones, and I think there's definitely a place for it in history. And as I got to listen to it more, I appreciated the songs more. I appreciated Charlie's vocals, and and reading the biography, and this is stuff that's been documented too, that he was so much older than the rest of the guys.
Yeah.
So there got to be, I think, at some point a bit of a disconnect, and he was more sort of I think a classic rock, kind of a sort of Elton John, Beatlesy, sort of influenced by a lot of that kind of stuff. And I think maybe that led to eventually just sort of them going different directions. But man, what he did was really important, and it's hard to. It's just weird when something like this happens and you're like, whoa, it's over. Like, you know what I mean? It's gone.
Yeah.
And even though he's been out of the band so long, I think it's worthy of just mentioning. I don't know. Maybe that first album doesn't come together quite the way it does, and they don't go on to do what they do if it wasn't for Charlie Dominici. I don't know.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think people would have listened to that record and heard the musicality of it and just the incredible, instrumental prowess the band had. But if the vocals detracted from it, I don't think people would have latched onto the band to give them a second chance. You know what I mean? They'd be like, well, this singer's kind of shit. Like, I don't want to listen to this. So that was not the case. You know, the record was always described as Rush meets Metallica. Mike Portnoy himself, you know, he said it again today. But, you know, he's always said that he thinks that's a very apt description of When Dream and Day Unite. And I think Charlie, you know, the people have said, I think the ultimate compliment is that people have said, yeah, he wasn't the right voice for Dream Theater, but they've never said he was a bad voice, you know, or that it didn't belong, or it took away from the music. It was just, you know, irregardless of, I know that's not a word, but irregardless of the fact that we are used to James LaBrie fronting the band for all of their recorded career outside of When Dream and Day Unite, you know, I think that Charlie left a stamp, and actually you said it perfectly, that, you know, his work on the debut record gave them this foothold to build off of. You know, it made the music listenable. And honestly, dude, like, I would argue that his voice being a little more accessible than James's kind of got some people into the band that normally wouldn't be into that style of music, because it wasn't immediately the, you know, the super high, you know, James always talks about hitting the C sharp and stuff like that. It wasn't that crazy, ridiculous operatic stuff. It was high, but it wasn't crazy like that. So I think he might have actually been a real benefit to the band in that respect, you know?
Yeah, and this is different than like, and I don't know all these guys' first or last names, but you see this stuff pop up on the other sites. They're talking about original AC/DC singer, and it's not Bon Scott. It's like this Dave Evans guy or whatever.
Dave Evans, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, to stop saying that. And then I think there's a guy before. Is there a guy before Paul Di'Anno even in Maiden, and a guy before Halford and Priest? And I don't know, sometimes these names get thrown out there, and then lately all you hear about is some dude from Slipknot that I'm not the biggest Slipknot fan. I started getting into it recently, but some guy who was never on any albums that they start talking about. This is different. You know, this guy was a real part of them getting signed. He was a real part of the process, and like the Majesty tapes or the videos, he's all over that stuff, you know?
Yep.
And you could see him in the early concert recordings, you know, and the videos they have, and he was real instrumental. And yeah, just a sad kind of a, I don't know, melancholy type. You know, the weather here in Cleveland's horrible today, and you turn on.
Well,
and see this.
It's raining. It's late November, and it's raining, and 55 degrees. That's not terrible for us. Okay, let's not.
Well, we got
piss on the weather gods.
We got spoiled. I also had a tree come through my pool fence too, so I'm a little bitter. But
oh man,
that happened earlier, but it's no big deal. But I don't know. Yeah, just a weird. You know, a weird thing, but then it's like, okay, we didn't realize, you know, friend told me when I looked it up, it's like he was 72, you know.
Yeah.
You never want to do that. Well, the guy died. Yeah, but he, you know, yeah, I'm not trying to be but guy, but you know, we do all have a shelf life. I don't know if he was, I didn't read anything about, you know, the cause or health issues or anything, so I don't know any details on that. I don't know if you do or not, or.
No, I mean, the only thing that's been said is that it was suddenly. I mean, okay. Mike Portnoy in his Instagram post mentioned that he was just texting with him literally a couple of weeks ago, and that he hadn't mentioned any health problems or anything. So you got to wonder if it's just like a heart attack out of nowhere, you know? So it could be that. But JG3, go to some comments here. He says, I think while he wasn't ultimately the long-term lead vocalist for the band, he helped the formative years of the band and put all his being into a frontman and making the band a success. Plus, it was cool to see him come back for the When Dream and Day Reunite show and him do his own solo stuff with the 03 stuff. Yeah, guys, if you have not heard the Charlie Dominici solo stuff, I think it's just under Dominici, and I want to say like Jay says 03, but it's really, really good. It's not nearly as proggy as Dream Theater, but it's actually really good. It's not one of those like, you know, guy used to be in a major band and then he goes and does solo stuff and it's obvious he doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. Like, it's not like that at all. Like, it's actually really good. So I would highly encourage you guys to check it out. Discuss Metal Joe. Joseph Friend, good to see you, man. He says, shall we listen to the first record this weekend in memoriam? Well, I would say yes, Joe, but I would say you should always be listening to the first record because it is criminally underrated. Our buddy Chris Aiken tuning in, giving us some facts as he always does. He says Al Atkins is the guy before Halford. And he says Anders Kolsevny was the guy for Slipknot, and their album before the debut is great. So there's that. And JG3 perfect comment. He says it's raining deep in heaven. Yeah. It's like you said, man, it's 72 years old, is not young. But it is kind of a sad thing. It's the first member of the immediate, I hate to use this phrase, but Dream Theater family, to pass away. And it kind of, like you said, everybody's got a shelf life, and I think it reminds us that these guys ain't getting any younger. And it's kind of crazy that this comes kind of on the heels of Mike Portnoy rejoining the band. And I mean, you said it, like the last like couple months have been pretty crazy for Dream Theater news as fans. And unfortunately, this is the sad part of it.
Yeah, they didn't have to work to get their name out there, man. It's all over the place with this unfortunate news, and then of course the Portnoy stuff. But
yeah.
I mean, it would be cool when they, once they get back out on the road. If and I'm sure they'll do this. I'm sure you'll probably get a song or two dedicated to Charlie, and that would be very cool once they do something like that. I mean, knowing those guys, I'm sure that's probably on their minds when the time comes.
Yeah, I would completely agree. It's sad, man. It's one thing if somebody's got cancer and you're kind of they're dealing with health issues, but for it to pop up out of nowhere is oof, man. And Mike Portnoy said he's kept in touch with him a lot. After it's in the book, but after Charlie left the band, he was doing local gigs and stuff and singing in a wedding band, and just, he was, he's done a ton of interviews saying that he was just sick and tired of the music business. He was a lot older than the Dream Theater guys, and he was sick and tired of the machinations of the music business. And so he just kind of went back to doing local stuff and just doing it for the love of singing. And he ended up in wedding bands and stuff. And Mike Portnoy ended up hiring him to, play at his wedding. So, and he says in the book that he thought it was an incredibly humble thing, for this guy who's yeah, we fired you from our band, but hey, can you sing at my wedding? And Charlie was yeah, that's cool, man. And they remained cool throughout the years. And, as JG3 mentioned, they did the show in Los Angeles in early 2004 for the 15th anniversary of When Dream and Day Unite. Actually, I loaned you my DVD of that.
You did. I still have it here.
Yes. Nice. I would hope so.
Yeah.
They're getting harder and harder to get. But yeah. So I mean, he came out and did a couple songs at that show, and again, the solo stuff. And then Portnoy mentioned that he came out. His band opened for Dream Theater over in Europe. I want to say it was the Systematic Chaos tour, I think. And then he said that Charlie came out to one of the John Petrucci solo shows and hung out with the guys and said, hey, whatever. And then like I said a minute ago, Portnoy said they had just texted just a few weeks ago. So he remained kind of a part of the Dream Theater story. It wasn't like the guy's gone and there was any bitterness or animosity or anything. And yeah, it's just it sucks, man. It's sudden passing is always a bad thing.
Well, it's still a weird thing too. And even though there was no bitterness, there's got to be, it's just got to be a very bizarre situation when you get out of something like that and then they just take off to the level that they did, and he probably knew he wasn't the right fit and they knew he wasn't the right fit, but still there's part of you that's man, I didn't get to be a part of that. That kind of blows, but he doesn't hold it against the guys, obviously. But
no.
That's a weird situation to be put in,
Yeah. Again, man, it's a shitty situation. I don't know. That first record is just so criminally underrated to me, and it's something I wish more fans were aware of. I mentioned it earlier, and we've talked about it on the shows that we've kind of dug into this record a few times. But it's really crazy to me that as fervent as Dream Theater fans are, a lot of people aren't aware of When Dream and Day Unite. And I really wish that wasn't the case, because I think it's a very, very underrated record, and again, a lot of it's due to Charlie. I think his vocals make it an accessible record.
Well, I also think too, and if this had happened and Mangini was still in the band, it's going to get addressed and probably honored down the road, but not to the degree it will now with Portnoy. Because
100% correct.
You know what I mean? So it's going to take on a new, which is it's the way it should be. You know, obviously he should be honored, and they should, they should really, just preserve his legacy. I guess is the word I'm looking for, but. Just like I said, just honor him. And I think with Portnoy being back, it's going to be blasted all over, and he's not going to let people forget. I don't know. I do think maybe there probably was a time that the borderline, I don't want to say distanced themselves from the record, but they had moved on. So it's kind of like, probably once they did the Dream and Day Unite thing after that, I think they're kind of like, all right, we're sort of probably kind of done with this. And like I said, with Portnoy not being in the band at the time, probably the last thing on their mind is really just even thinking about or talking about that era. And it's not anything against them. It's just they had just moved past that,
Well, I mean, they've always been critical of the production on that first record. They had a phenomenal producer, Terry Date, but, the budget wasn't there to give it enough time for him to dial everything in the way it should have been. So, I mean, that's probably, something that they were concerned with. But I mean, and also there's the whole legality of it. I mean, the entire reason why they did, well, not the entire reason, but one of the main reasons that they did the When Dream and Day Reunite thing was because they wanted a recorded version of that record that they could control and release to the fans, so they knew that it was out there. Because Mechanic Records, I mean, still they don't have access to that. They haven't done anything with it. It's not on the streaming services, whatever. So, and that's sad, man. To any of you guys that are, familiar with the record and want to dig deeper into it, or if you're not familiar with it, want to get a great piece of the history, the DVD that we just mentioned, it's from the original Yitzhak Jam catalog. It's When Dream and Day Reunite. I bought it, and it's a great show, first of all, but most importantly, there's a kick-ass commentary track that you can put on through the concert. I believe it's I haven't gotten to watch it in a while because one of my asshole friends is just keeping it under wraps and not returning it. But I forget who that is. But no, but I think it's Portnoy Petrucci. And they're basically, giving history of the record and the performance, like all this great stuff while you're watching the show. Like, it's awesome. So if you guys can find that somewhere, that DVD is absolutely kick-ass. So highly recommend that. Chad Stevermer, hopefully I'm not mispronouncing that. I'm sure I am. Apologize for that, man. Thank you for tuning in. He says, I was at that show in LA when Charlie came on for the encore. The place went nuts. Such a great show. I got to tell you, man, I am very, very jealous of you for that one. I've been to one of the special shows. I'm not going to play into the drinking game right now, but and those are definitely incredible environments. But to see the whole debut album performed is amazing. JG3 says Portnoy shared this picture of him and Dominici. That's very recent. It was actually on the Petrucci solo tour. Shared this picture of him and Dominici had his hair out long again with the curls. Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, man, he's kind of looking like Gary Cherone there for a second. Doug McCauley says Charlie missed out on the better production quality after that record. They might have broke differently on images and words. When they play that older stuff, it kills live. Totally agree. Kale McLeish, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Hope the new single's doing great. Put that in the comments, by the way, Kale, your band and the single you have out, so I can promote that here for you for a second here. But says R.I.P. Charlie, the band could never have started without you, mate. Enjoy the great gig in the sky. Yep. And Liquid Shadow says R.I.P. Charlie. Thanks for tuning in, man. Yeah, it's just crazy, man. It's it's weird. This week we had a couple reminders of the mortality of our heroes. I know it's a cheesy way to phrase it, but you got Sammy Hagar announcing this massive tour, going out and doing the Van Halen stuff. And, they're calling it the best of all worlds. And he's like, yeah, I can't believe it's been 20 years since we did that 2004 reunion. I was like, son of a bitch. Has it been that long? Like, I was front row for that one in Columbus. And so that's like, yeah, man, that's all right. And now, this whole Charlie Dominici thing. I would say I agree with you 100%. I completely agree that I would be shocked if they don't do something at the shows for Charlie. I think you're completely dead on with that, because Portnoy, being the historian that he is and loving to always honor the history of the band, especially with something like this happening, I think he's definitely gonna, put a song in the set list or do something or other, so.
Well, and if you're new to the album, there's a pretty good episode on a podcast I know that did a serious deep dive on it. So.
And they did another episode that ranked the songs.
Yes.
So yeah, if you'd like to get some deep insight into When Dream and Day Unite, we can direct you in the right direction.
I'm interested to hear that first one though, because that was like one of our first episodes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sure hopefully we've grown and come a long way since then. I think we were kind of all over the place to start with.
Yeah. We should probably clarify that the podcast we're talking about is ours. But one of our very first episodes was an album deep dive into When Dream and Day Unite, and then recently, within the last few months, we actually ranked the songs. To see like what was it 9-1 or 8-1, whatever the hell it is, but yeah. Joe Gebhardt, good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in. He says, what a roller coaster of a month for the band. Yeah, we were discussing that. It's pretty freaking crazy. Yeah, just sad, dude. It's weird, man. It's I'm gonna use the word mortality. It's crazy because you think about, holy shit, Portnoy's back, and then holy shit, Charlie Dominici dies. Like, it's just, you realize that you're much closer to the end of their career than we are to the beginning. And for me, dude, that's always a weird conversation. Like, this is going to sound stupid. It's going to sound like old manish, but it's like, I don't grow up. I'm a complete like man child. Not that you don't already know this, but people who know me know this, but you guys out there, like, I'm an idiot. Like, I'm 47 years old. I'll be 48 in a couple months. And I still feel like I'm 20, and it's when these things happen, I'm like, Charlie Dominici died, but he just did a record with them like 5 years ago. Like, the passage of time is really weird for me. And so this is one of those weird things that it's like, son of a bitch, time is passing.
Yeah. So, like, you still think you're 24, it's like, wait.
Exactly. Dude, it was like, I was talking about the other day, I was having a conversation with one of my team members. And she was saying, oh my God, I'm turning 30 in a few months. I can't handle it. I don't know what I'm going to do. That's like so old. I'm like, oh no, man, turning 30 is nothing. My 30th birthday was amazing. I was in Chicago and I told her all these crazy stories. Like, yeah, man, hard to believe that was almost 18 years ago. And I stopped and went, son of a bitch. Like, holy fuck, it really was almost 18 years ago. Like, what is that? So, but yeah, I mean, it's weird to think, James has been doing these interviews saying, his voice can't do what it used to do. And, Mike Portnoy after 13 years is back in the band, and now Charlie Pat, like, it's weird. And I hate thinking about it too, because like, I don't have Van Halen anymore. The closest I get is this Sammy tour, and Joe Satriani better clean up his act, because I did not like what he was doing on that Howard Stern show, but that's a whole nother topic. So I don't have Van Halen, and now it feels like, Dream Theater is like coming into the final turn. It's like, God damn it. Like, it's sad. It's a sad thing to think about, dude. And, for the guys in the band, like I say, like Portnoy was still friends with the guy. And it's like, you balance this incredible high. Like, he said they were texting about how happy Charlie was. He was back in the band. He's like, it's fucking great and everything. And now he's gone. Like, that's pretty crazy, man. What a juxtaposition.
Yeah, it is. But, let's also like maybe do a toast. I don't know if you have a drink there. I've got one. Toast to Charlie, man. I mean, he was part of one of the most influential metal rock, prog rock bands of all time, and that's like just rarefied earth. They're just, I mean, it's less than a millionth of a 1%, basically, to accomplish something like that and be on something like that and be known for and associated with other people like that. So cheers, man. Appreciate it.
Cheers up, man. Cheers, Charlie. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I think his importance to the history of the band kind of gets overlooked. again, I have always thought that, as I said earlier, I mean, if he was just not good, and they happened to get a record deal based on how awesome they were musically, I don't think they would have gotten where they got. I mean, Images and Words is a phenomenal album. Obviously, Pull Me Under is incredible, but you have to have something to at least have a fan base, someone to listen to your music. And this is going to sound terrible to phrase it this way, but Charlie didn't drive people away. I mean, this was 1989 when the record came out.
Yeah,
it was during. I mean, you were there. I mean, you were like, dude, you were right there in the heart of that era. I mean, you were like 64 years old in the late 80s, and age jokes. Speaking of, but no, seriously, I mean, you're a couple years older than me, so in the late 80s, like, you were very familiar with like the hair metal scene, and that was all the rage. Poison and Motley Crue and all that kind of stuff. And here comes Dream Theater with this insane fucking musicality, and I mean, who's going to listen to that? And yet some people did, and they got this small little, very dedicated underground following. And, they were there to check out Images and Words, and then they happened to write a killer song and whatnot. It's like, and so, I think he had a big impact on the band. And I think it kind of goes unnoticed sometimes.
Yeah, it for sure does. And it's like you said, mostly because I think people just don't even kind of acknowledge the first record. I mean, I'm probably kind of guilty because I just sort of look at it. I just separate the two eras, which is, a natural thing to do, I suppose.
There's three now.
Yeah, exactly. But, when something like this happens, and obviously you again, and Chris put the names of the other people up there, that this isn't the same, as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? And I don't know anything about the first Slip or with this first singer. If that's a great album, that's cool. It's awesome. But I'm pretty sure nobody's running around with the first, Al Atkins or whatever.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out who that is.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, Doug McCauley, good point, man. He says, Dream Theater frontman has got to be the hardest gig. First, you have to be able to bring it at that level and then take all the hate from the fan base. Charlie did it with grace and humility, man. Cheers. Yeah, definitely, dude. That's an excellent point. I mean, James LaBrie has been dealing with it for years. You're out in front of these world-class musicians, like one of the best bands musically on the planet. And if you're just not 100% there, like, you're going to catch some shit. And, again, I mean, for the fans that do know Charlie, there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, his voice didn't fit, as I said earlier, but no one's ever said, oh, the guy's got a crap voice. They just say, oh, it didn't fit, and I think that's a testament, again, to what he did. I personally have no problem with his voice, and you as a Rush fan, I mean, I would assume that, I know that you agree that it just doesn't fit, but I mean, have you ever had a problem with his voice in and of itself?
No, I thought his voice was fine for what it was. I'm one of those people, I always think things happen for a reason, and it's like, hey man, he was meant to be on that first album, and he was a lot older than they were, and probably in a different headspace, and it's hard getting 4, 5, 6 guys on the same page, and this is exactly what we want to do. We know what we want to do, and that age difference probably played a larger factor into the way things ended up going. But that's just life, man. I mean, that's just the universe just sort of sets it up the way it's going to go. I mean,
yeah, right.
And luckily in this case, there, like you said, there really was no bad blood, and he probably had some, I wouldn't say jealousy, but you're going to be envious when you see what happens. You're like, you know what I mean? It's okay to like envy something, but not be like, oh God, that should be me at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he said it, in the book, he was, when he was in the band, he was asking the guys like, hey, look, we got to do some more commercial stuff. Like, let's do something that can grab the average radio listener. And they were sticking to their, prog roots and everything. And then, so when he heard Pull Me Under, he was like, God damn it. Like, I told you guys we need to do that. Now I'm out of the band and now you're doing it. Like, so it was kind of funny, that, that was the case. Joe Gebhardt brings up a comment, and as long as we're here, Brian, let's talk a little bit about some Dream Theater stuff. And Joe Gebhardt says, I hope we get a few more albums out of Dream Theater. Everything is subjective, but many think this will be their last one coming up. And all you guys, by the way, commenting on the mortality and the age thing up in the comments, I appreciate it. I'm the only reason I'm not bringing those up is because I don't want to be a goddamn Debbie Downer in this thing. But yeah, so we actually have heard a rumor that's making the rounds. So I don't think we're telling tales out of school here, but some people are saying that this whole Mike Portnoy thing is going to be 2 albums and 2 tours, and it's going to be a studio record and a live record, and they're going to do 2 tours, and then it's going to be like, okay, we're done. So that is the rumor that we are hearing. I personally think that that's bullshit. For the sole reason that even if it is true, I think that the Portnoy stuff is going to do so much business that they're going to be like, well, screw it. We can keep making some money out here and keep making music and everything. Also, I mean, they just built DTHQ not too long ago. So I find it hard to believe that they're going to be like, hey, we spent all this money on our own recording studio and hideout. Like, yeah, but we're going to be done in a couple of years. Like, I just find that really hard to believe. So, but we are hearing that. So it's an interesting thing to discuss. So.
Well, here's the thing, and I just double checked this. So let's assume the first part of this rumor, let's assume this rumor is true, right? I would put a timeline on something like all of that taking probably close to 5 or 6 years almost. At that point, James LaBrie is 66 years old. Mike Portnoy is 62. So if you look at it from that context,
ooh,
you know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't see any scenario with Portnoy coming back in an album that whatever tour they embark on doesn't at least run a borderline 3 years if they can do it, right?
3 years. Do you really think Dream Theater can pull off 3 years on one record?
I don't know. I mean, they may just try to literally hit every place they've ever hit before and ones they haven't because Mike's bad. Okay, let's say 2.5.
All right. Well, Aiken's chiming in here. So Aiken, I love how you're being so cool to us on this. You know what I mean? Aiken says, I heard a similar rumor, but only the touring will end. See, now that's interesting. And of course he's got to throw some shade. He also says 3 years, that's like 8 or 9 Dream Theater songs. Oh, fuck yourself, man. All right, so only the touring will end. That's interesting. Man, Joe Gebhardt says touring is where the most money is brought in. That's correct. You got to wonder like where the guys are at, though. I mean, obviously Portnoy is going to keep doing stuff. You would think that they would be set from the perspective of they've been doing it long enough to have invested in something. You know, and they don't seem like the kind of, I mean, they're obviously not blowing it on drugs and whores and everything, like, you know, like, but
well,
man,
the new, and I'm saying this maybe it's being naive here, but from what I never noticed this, but in the last year or two, dude, these concerts, we're getting like 16-month sometimes announcements on. So these bands, I think especially the older bands, they are literally planning out the next 3-4 years of their life to the T, you know, just to make sure that it's out there and it's booked and it's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess because of the competition and just because of their age and everything. And I just think now it's just an all-time, like, yeah, we really have to have this nailed down exactly when we're going to tour, when we're going to stop, when we're going to do an album, you know, and it's like this stuff is put so far out in advance that no matter what we could speculate the plan, I guarantee you there probably is an exact plan in place, you know, similar to what Aiken was saying. It's probably, hey, get this tour and then we're out and then we'll do albums once in a while, you know?
Yeah. Well, Kale McLeish says it's rumors and hearsay based on nothing concrete. Kale, I will say that is not exactly true. The stuff that we are hearing actually is coming from some reputable sources. So to your point, Brian, to your point, and this also ties into our discussion about like the passage of time, this, that, and the other. So I'm going to use a band as an example. You and I both like. I personally love them. They're definitely my top 5. Anthrax, right? They're, Joey Belladonna just went in, I think, last weekend to start recording vocals for the new record. It's supposed to come out probably next year, right? And so you're thinking, these bands, like you said, these 16 months and 2 years and 3 years, whatever. Well, I mean, you're familiar with their last record, right? For All Kings, which, by the way, is a kick-ass record. When would you guess, and don't be Googling this shit, when would you guess that record came out?
Man, it's been a while. I'm going to say we're got to be close to 5 years. I'll say 2018.
So you're 2016. It came out on my birthday, February 26th in 16. So it's going to be 8 years between records, man.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't feel like that. But yeah, these bands, like, they do these tours and they go out live, and it's crazy. So, I mean, to your point, yeah, these things are so planned out that maybe that is, Kale, love how there wasn't going to be an episode. Now we're here. Yeah, well, Kale, I've been working so goddamn much, it's not even funny. And I finally tonight I was like, I'm logging off. I'm sick of working. And Charlie Dominici's thing came up. I'm like, hey, Brian, let's go live. What the hell? So
what I find comical is I feel like sometimes we get more people join us live when we don't tell anybody we're going to come on. I feel like when people are stalking us, like, hey, or they're just so pissed that we didn't have a show last night that they're like, they got to get their fix.
Well, it was funny because I was scrolling through YouTube before we jumped on while I was eating dinner, and I happened upon our channel. What the hell am I, British? I happened upon our channel. And, I came across our channel, and I was like, I always look at numbers just to see if there's certain trends of viewership or whatnot. And usually the shows are like 30 views, 40 views, whatever. Dude, the little blurb last night was 53. I was like, son of a bitch. Like, oh my God. By the way, JG3, I have to address this. He says, Anthrax? People like that band? Yes, Jay. Yes. Pip Cheerios, as you're saying in the other comment. Yes, people do like Anthrax because they fucking rule, dude. Do not argue with me about goddamn Anthrax because you will lose, my friend. You will lose. I love Anthrax. They've only ever put out one bad album, and it wasn't that bad. It was just really average, and that was Volume 8.
Yeah, don't tell John how to do his job. There's your door. The name's on the knob.
Well played. Look, Doug McCauley with some other music news. Mick Mars just dropped a killer solo track. Kind of destroys anything Motley Crue's ever done. I guess you can be old and relevant after all. Doug, if you want to see something amazing, look up Chris Aiken Presents. He actually just got done last week or the week before. He got a full hour with Mick, and he's releasing those in 15-minute segments. And he's going to release the full thing at some point. But he got a full hour with Mick, one of the few podcasts to actually get that. And it's really, really good. So make sure you check that out on Chris Aiken Presents. It's really kick ass, man. So see, they're making me forget where the hell we were at.
Real quick, Kale brings up the new Priest. So that's the second one that came out. Man, this new Priest is just absolutely crushing. So good.
Yeah, he says, speaking of great new music, Trial by Fire by Priest slaps. You know what doesn't slap? That album title. That is a god-awful album title, Invincible Shield.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of dumb, too. Because, first of all, it's one of those that you get confused and you want to say, like, Invisible Shield, which is just as dumb. But the cover's kind of cool, but, yeah, the title is horrible, man.
Yeah, Aiken, thanks for the plug. I got you, buddy. I know which side of the bread my butter's on. Right. Yeah, it's definitely a terrible album title. It's like that it looks like they just went on one of those like internet like heavy metal album name generators and just did that.
Yeah, or they went back and watched Rockstar and like tried to do the cliches that are in the movie for the name of the album title. But
right, yeah, no, it's definitely great shit, dude. I gotta say, like, I'm a big fan of like they've kind of I can't believe we're jumping off into this tangent, but whatever, we're on, so let's just bullshit. By the way, guys, this is basically what you're going to get at the Fan Hangout on Friday, December 22nd. So if you guys are into this just kind of random, let's bullshit music, only I think Brian and I are both going to be a lot more drunk, especially considering I'll be drinking Gorilla Farts. Speaking of drinking, I see you sipping off of that. What is this hellish concoction you are drinking tonight?
Oh, this is one of my usuals. This is my Four Loko with Natty Daddy mix.
Oh, God, that's bad.
So there's a local tobacco beer, one of those type of shops in Chardon. And I could get the three pack of Natty Daddy and the 2 Four Lokos for I can get out of there under $10 with tax.
You're such a cheap ass.
And that's enough for literally four nights of a decent buzz.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
So it still comes out to almost $2.50 a night, which is, that's steep, but I can handle it, I guess, because I'm not spending money on gas, right?
Joe Gebhardt says it. He just posted the puke emoji. Yes, Joe. He a couple years ago, man. We got to. Yes, I'm gonna bring that up. Brian. Just give me a second. Brian, I think I told the story on the show, but Brian came over. We watched the Images and Words that live stream they did for the 25th anniversary show.
Yep.
And he brought his hellish concoction and left it at my place, a little bit of it. And I was like, I got to try this. And I got to tell you, Gorilla Farts are awful. So nothing's going to be that bad, but that's kind of close. I don't know how he does that. That's like some, oh boy, Jesus. Look at this. All right. So Chad Steve Vermer, whatever. He says Fan Hangout. Kale talking shit and John giving bad takes. I think I have some good takes, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
It doesn't need to be the Fan Hangout for you to have bad takes, man. It's not like you save those up until the end of December. Those start flooding in as soon as January hits, man. It's like,
oh my God! Look at this, Aiken. The title "Invincible Shield" sounds like the premise for the next failed Marvel movie. And then he's also calling me out on drinking. He says, by the way, Aiken, you fucking nitwit, you've known me for how many years? And quit putting an H in my name, you dickhole. John, are you calling someone's drinking habits cheap? Really? Paramount Orange vodka? Anyone? It's Paramount Cherry, dude. Not orange. Paramount Cherry.
I've never even heard of Paramount. Is that one of those like you get at 7-Eleven and it doesn't have the full alcohol in it so they can sell it there or whatever?
No, it's foolproof, but it's bottom shelf. It's actually a good friend of mine years and years ago. Like she was really into Star Wars like I am, and we would get hammered on the stuff, and we would mix it with cherry Coke. So it was like Paramount Cherry Vodka and cherry Coke. We used to call it the Jedi juice, and we would get all kinds of shitty on it.
Nice.
So but anyways, yeah,
it's lower than bottom shelf. They have to go in the basement to get it.
Pretty much.
Do you have any $17 a gallon? That's amazing.
Yeah, they're like, do you have any of that? And they give you the look like, like, fuck is that? But anyways, going back to the new priest and stuff like that. Yeah, the new priest is great. I love how they're kind of like pulling a testament where they've basically, and I'm not the biggest Priest fan. Like I'll listen to Priest anytime it's on. I don't go out of my way to see him or anything. In fact, the only time I've seen them live was with Ripper. But I love how they've kind of embraced this kind of signature sound, like Testament, basically when they put out The Gathering and everyone lost their goddamn minds, as well they should. They're basically like, you know what? We're just going to do that. They did Demonic after that, or no, Demonic was before The Gathering. And ever since The Gathering, they're like, yeah, this is what people dig, so we're just going to do that. And Priest kind of like realized that Painkiller is the one that, fans keep coming back to. So they're like, yeah, let's just kind of, with, Firepower, and this new one sounds like it's going to be like that. And I think they're kind of embracing,
Yeah. To me, the last two are a perfect blend of Painkiller, a little bit of Defenders of the Faith, and a little bit of Screaming for Vengeance. Like it's the perfect blend, man. You got the old school, but you also have the modern thing in there too, and they're blended like perfect. And I just think that Redeemer of Souls and that crap was like, it was all right, but it really was the last the Firepower album, I just thought was great.
Yeah, that was. I mean, but to me, it's kind of like. Haken, one last story. He says there's also that gas station bourbon that John in our car drank on the way to Van Halen in Wisconsin. That was actually Long Island iced tea. It was bought at a gas station. It was one of those like premixes, and that would give Gorilla Farts a run for their money. Like that was absolutely putrid. But we were stuck in traffic for so many hours. Like, I mean, it took us 2 hours to go. Like, basically, like we were looking at the Sears Tower for about 2 hours, getting through like shitty traffic, like rush hour traffic in Chicago. And I was like, "Fuck this! I'm getting drunk." So, JG3, he says Firepower is a banging album, and then asks a question: better Panic Attack, Judas Priest, or Dream Theater? Dream Theater all the way. He says Judas Priest gives Dream Theater a run for their money, potentially, but I'm just a bigger Dream Theater fan, so I'm gonna take that. But that Panic Attack tune definitely is fucking killer, dude.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty hard to beat Dream Theater Panic Attack.
Yeah,
I don't care who does of their own version or their own title of whatever. I don't know. No matter how amazing it is.
So, since we're on the topic of new music, I gotta say, I am starting to get nervous as hell about this new Dream Theater record and the new tour. I'm hoping that it takes longer than it should by a little bit, because this week, like we mentioned, Sammy Hagar announced that huge Van Halen tour thing, and I actually could not buy tickets. I just had a roof put on my house literally 2 days ago. Christmas is coming up, and it's my first Christmas in our new house. And I've always wanted to recreate the Christmases, when I was a kid. So my wife and I are buying a bunch of presents for my stepkids, and they're adults, but they're 22 and 28, but still. And these damn Van Halen tickets went on sale. I was like, God damn it, I can't do it. And I really want to get tickets to the first Mike Portnoy show, which we said on the Mike Portnoy episode that we're thinking is going to be New York City. It'd be crazy if it wasn't. I am praying it doesn't go on sale before like end of March, because I get a huge bonus at my job in March, so I'll have plenty of money to blow on that shit. And if that goddamn tour gets announced before that, I'm gonna be like, son of a bitch, because that first show is just the tickets are gonna go like so unbelievably quickly. So,
well, this is what happened with me. So I've have almost $3,000 tied up in Monsters of Rock cruise, right? We get back. It's first week of March, basically. I forgot 2nd to the 7th or whatever.
Yeah.
And then just announced we've got Queensryche and Armored Saint at House of Blues, who will have already been both on the cruise. So I guess that one I'm like kind of, but still it's House of Blues, man. There's no better place to see a show, in my opinion, than the balcony House of Blues, Cleveland.
Did you get tickets in the balcony yet?
No, I didn't buy any because I'm literally going to be seeing both bands like the month before. So I'm probably going to hold off and see if something shows up. But then it's like that. Then they announced Priest and Sabaton, which who have just been dying to see Sabaton.
Yeah.
And they don't make it over here that often because they're coming from, 4 million miles away. And then this Van Halen thing comes up, and then Machine Head. Like, I'd love to see them. They're coming to Northfield. They've announced more shows for that Lamb of God Pantera, but there's nothing close by, so I'm not going to, I guess, bother with that. But
bother with that. Fucking bother with that. Dude, I'm telling you, it's worth a road trip. You have to go.
Well, there's nothing anywhere even in the zip code this time. Like last time there was PA. Isn't that where you saw it? Was Pittsburgh?
It wasn't Pittsburgh. It was a little
like
closer than
Harrisburg
Pittsburgh
or something, or somewhere up there.
Burgettstown. Okay. Some weird like. Basically it was like right where West Virginia and Pennsylvania and Ohio meet. It was really kind of Deliverance level shit. Like it's God damn. Look at Chris Aiken. Stop calling it Van Halen. It's a Fan Hagar show all the way. Well, yeah, I get it, but how much closer basically Sammy wanted to do the Van Halen songs. He's like, hey, Vic Johnson, take a seat. We got to get a guitar player that can play a lot more stuff than you can. And by the way, that's a story I would love to know the inside of, because Sammy does not turn his back on his boys, but This literally is the circle, but Vic Johnson is not playing. So I don't know if Vic was like, fuck this, or, Hagar told him like, hey, we got to get somebody who can do all this. I don't know what it is, man. Joe Gebhardt says, that blows my mind if those rumors you spoke of are to be true. I just can't see after 13 years they finally bring Mike back and they would only do one album in the studio. As eager as they sound to make new music, that can't be it. Well, Joe, again, it's not that they're doing one studio album and that's and out. They're doing a studio album and a tour and a live record and a tour. So it's 2 tours and 2 albums, one of which being a live record. But I completely agree with you, though. The energy that's going to come off of that is, I mean, the draw is going to come back. I just can't see them doing it for just that single record. Like, I mean, again, we're hearing it from people that actually know shit.
Well, but also, like we said, you're still talking probably a minimum of 4 years before they would even start that second studio album, if that's what they did. It's just hard to pre-plan and say we're going to do 3 more studio out. You know what I mean? It's just, I think it's hard to plan from that aspect and know for sure that you want to do it or you're going to be able to do it. The live album, that's easy to plan for, right? You just, hey, we're going to record, we're going to tour, we're going to record these songs live.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I would say, I mean, the only deterrent is James's voice. But, as we saw with A View from the Top of the World, he's writing vocal parts based on, what he's able to do now and what he can do live and everything, which is intelligent. Love that. It's just a matter of what they do with the, the older catalog of stuff. So, Chad Steve Ermer, I'm just going to call you Cleveland Steamer.
C Steamer.
Yeah. C Steamer. C Steamer says, the Rolling Stones are in their 80s. Don't see why Dream Theater can't do the same thing. Mick still sounds fantastic. Yeah. I mean, I hate the Rolling Stones. They are one of my least favorite bands of all time. But you're not wrong. I mean, good Lord, Yeah, Aiken said, yeah, he's right. It says Motley Crue signed contracts to end and then didn't. If the demand is there, they will keep going. Portnoy is exciting for Dream Theater fans now, but he didn't translate to sales outside of Dream Theater. Might not be the same draw people think. Well, no, I see, Chris. I'm going to disagree with you there. I mean, and I know you're not like a Dream Theater guy, but I mean, Portnoy's stuff did draw. I mean, but it was never huge. Even when he was in Dream Theater, it wasn't like, the Neil Morse band was playing 1,000-seaters and shit like that. Like, it was only playing to a couple hundred people, and he was still playing to a couple hundred people outside of Dream Theater. Like, Portnoy himself actually does draw, but he never bites off more than he can chew. So, I
mean, to his point, I do think some people probably need to pump the brakes a little on, oh my God, this means they're going to, they're not playing the cue. Let's just,
yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not even going to play whatever the hell they're calling the Convocation Center now. Is it still the Convocation Center?
Or Wolfstein Center.
Yeah. I mean, they're not playing that. Yeah, I mean they're probably still what do we see them? Goodyear Theater. I mean they're still probably that. Maybe a Cleveland Music Hall. I can't remember what that holds. It's 2,500 or something. But
the auditorium downtown.
Yeah,
I was just there last week for the convention for A Christmas Story. So yeah, I think that's like 2,000 or something.
Yeah, I mean,
cool venue, man. Like,
oh, I love that venue.
Talk about old school. Holy shit!
Yeah,
but
sound in there is amazing.
Well, it's all wood.
I mean, let's just be glad they're back, and rather than, oh my God, we got to make sure we get, let's just take it. But you said something interesting earlier. Like, I would rather I don't care if it's 2 years. Spend 2 years making an absolutely killer album, like, or at least a year. Like, there doesn't need to be, oh God, we got to hurry up and write an album fast. And I don't think the guys are thinking that way. I don't think they've ever, sort of thought that way. I think they're very organic, but it could be they all get in the studio and they're like, you know what? We thought we were going to be in here 3 to 4 months or whatever, and we were here a month and a half, and shit, we have a full record. I mean, that could be the case too.
Yeah. Well, I think, first of all, Joe Gebhardt, please not a 3-week train of thought situation. Joe apparently is not a train of thought fan. I think that the way that they work, the template has been laid, and it was laid years ago, where they just, they bring in their riffs and they write the whole record in the studio and off you go. I don't see it taking a long time. I understand why you would want them to take a while to make sure it's good. Personally, for me, I'm not a fan of that, Brian, because I think there's a certain energy and quality to the immediacy of energy. I know that sounds weird, but what I'm talking about is, like, I mean, they're all fucking pumped up. Like, they're all just like raring to go. And I think going in there and banging it out and just coming from that place of energy and, always back, like it's this fresh new thing, but it's this comfortable thing. Like, it's kind of like Distance Over Time, like, which I think is one of the most criminally underrated records they've done, but they all got together at Yonder Barn and they wrote this record by living together for like a month and a half. And it was like, there was this immediacy to it. There was this energy because, hey, I got this riff. Oh, sit down and play it. Like, oh, I'll sit down and play the drums to it. And Jordan's like, oh, I'll play the keyboard, whatever. So I think if they take a long time, it's going to kind of pop that balloon. So I'd be much more a fan of them doing it more quickly and kind of feeding off of the energy and the momentum that they have right now.
Yeah, I'll backtrack a little bit here, because I mean, I don't think anybody literally takes like 6 months to. A band like that doesn't take 6 months to write an album anymore. That doesn't happen. But no, I understand what you're saying. I guess. So, are we thinking? Is this the hey? We get together, but we don't want anyone coming in with any riffs they already had. Let's build it all from scratch, or is this come in with every idea you have and let's flush them all out together, or is this, hey, let's trade demos back and forth before we go in? What do you think?
I don't think they're going to break the formula. I think, like I said, they had a formula, and I don't think they're going to fuck with it. I think it's just going to be like, look, man, this is how we've always done it. Let's do it that way.
Yeah.
Let's, especially because, I mean, you can hear it on Petrucci's solo record. I mean, as much as, he didn't write that with Mike, like the fact that Mike can add so much energy to things that already exist without even having any input in it. Imagine what it's going to be like for them to come together again and do it together in the same room. You know what I mean? Like there's just going to be this crazy energy to it. Like, I mean, I'm going to tell you, I think I said this when we did the episode when Portnoy came back. I will be shocked if this new Dream Theater record isn't good. If we all kind of look at it like, okay. I will be shocked. I am fully expecting this thing to be a rager and people to be like, oh my God, this is fucking exactly what, what we want. I will be shocked if that's not the case. I really will.
I mean, you know exactly how this is going to go. You're going to get half the people going, there's going to be half the people that don't like it, that say the only reason the other people like it is because Portnoy's back. That's what you're gonna have. I mean, there's gonna be no winning if you like or if you hate this album, because let's just say you don't like it or it's not as good as we anticipated. And I don't know. I'm worried about you and your objectivity on this, man. I don't. And go ahead, Aiken. Please chime in and back me up here. The odds that John can be objective on a new Dream Theater album that features Mike Portnoy are about slim to none.
But dude, I wasn't against the Mangini stuff. I like all Dream Theater.
No, I know, but you're. that's what's always difficult to tell. Is like, do you like it just because you like them, or do you really like it?
No, I do really like it.
I know. You understand what I'm saying, though.
And besides, who are you to talk? You think a dramatic turn of events is like one of the best records in her catalog, and it's bottom 2.
Wow, I didn't know you were going to have just come on here and start bashing Mike Mangini. I didn't know that's what we were doing.
Oh,
but okay.
Shut up! I'm not bashing Mike Mangini. That's not what I'm doing at all. Look at Aiken. To your point, in terms of me disliking the new Dream Theater, Aiken says there are better odds of John becoming a Steeler fan. Yeah, that's very, very true. That's very, very true.
So what is the first quote single from? Let's assume Aiken's onto something, and maybe it's an EP, just to get the ball rolling.
But yeah, so Aiken did. Let's at least put his theory out there. He says, I haven't heard this, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a 3-song EP and short tour to gauge the interest, then go from there. Aiken, I completely disagree. The interest is through again, you're not in the Dream Theater fan community like we are. The interest is fucking enormous. Absolutely enormous. People are like shitting themselves over this. At least this first tour, they're going to make so much goddamn money. It's crazy. Because everyone's going. So, all right. Excuse me. So you wanted to talk about this idea of a 3-song EP?
Oh no. I'm just. What does the first single? And I think we talked about this the day we heard he was coming back a little bit. I think I said something like "Nightmare to Remember" or something, or "Dark Eternal Night." Like, what is the first song? What is going to be the best comparison to the first new song with Mike Portnoy?
Wow.
In the current catalog.
Now, when you say current, you mean the Mangini catalog?
Yeah, just anything they've ever done, man.
Why are you saying current catalog?
All right. Well, the catalog, I guess.
All right, look, let me rephrase that. You have to pick a song between 1989 and 2023.
The entire Dream Theater history, what is this new song going to be most similar to?
Wow. Man, it's hard to say.
I like the what are we calling him? Sea Steamer, 3-song EP, so 45.
Yeah, 3-song EP, so a 45-minute record. Yeah, basically. But it's gonna be like a 2-minute interlude and a 4-minute song, and then a 39-minute like.
Yeah,
epic.
Exactly.
JG3 says, I could see them doing something really proggy, like 6 Degrees.
What do you mean, the entire album or something? Because that album is kind of all over the place too in terms of its tone.
No, I know what he means. Like, I think it basically, instead of like going the route of let's draw people in with like Forsaken or Rite of Passage, or even something like As I Am. Honestly, I would think. I think it's going to be a little bit on the heavier side. I think it's going to be aggressive. I would say probably around 6 minutes long.
I have an idea. I Walk Beside You again.
It's gonna be like Metallica with The Unforgiven.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm still walking beside you. I never left your ass.
Becomes the stalker song, like Silent Lucidity.
Right.
Aiken, first single, Pull Me Over, Cause I'm Afraid, brings in casual and hardcores. Joe Gebhardt, do you think they'll play it safe again, or will it be experimental? Joe, honestly, I think they could go either way.
What does he mean again? When did they play this?
The
3 times they did like so-called mainstream songs.
Well, no, I mean, I think he's talking about the fact that, like, the stuff's a little bit more accessible. Like I just mentioned, Rite of Passage or Forsaken, even, like the Untethered Angel or something is like kind of straightforward for them. There's little proggy moments and whatnot, but I mean, it's not anything over the top. Yeah, I mean, honestly, Joe, I think they could go either way. I really don't think it matters. I think literally this whole thing is just predicated on holy shit, Portnoy's back. as much as Dream Theater fans may not have been ponying up for tickets to shows, they definitely paid attention to the records. And so they know Portnoy's back, so they are going to buy tickets. They are going to buy albums. Aiken made the point, earlier. He said, which is why I'm right. Bookers don't look at Facebook groups. Yeah, but again, Chris, like you're not in the fan community. Like Dream Theater, as much as the draw went down, they were still selling like 1,500 tickets to a show guaranteed. Like, and with Portnoy, that's going to go up. You're not gonna have them playing some more. It's the size of the venue is going to go up. People want to see this. It's Mike Portnoy. People have been bitching about Portnoy not being in the band since the day he left. So I think that it's just going to be, everyone wants to see it. And in terms of what type of song, Brian, again, I think it's going to be on the heavier side. I think it's going to be aggressive. I think it's going to be at most about 6 minutes long. I think it's going to be a combination of like a massive chorus and some crazy instrumental stuff, kind of like, the Enemy Inside. I would say bigger chorus than that, but a little more straightforward in parts and a little more proggy in parts. I think if you kind of like put like the Enemy Inside on steroids, I wouldn't be surprised if that was kind of the direction that they go.
I've got it. Another day. Kind of like, what was that stupid movie where they made that Never Stop Not Stopping or whatever, where they I forgot who was in that. Andy Samberg, or wasn't it
right?
Was it him or somebody else making like basically like a Justin Bieber spoof or something?
Yes, that was awesome.
Another day.
Yeah. All right. Aiken's chiming in again. Says, I'm in the music business community. I promise you, just him being there won't convince the Lakewood Auditorium to spend more than they did last night. I'm sorry, dude. Hilarious. Dude, you know what, Aiken? I want you to get proof of this, like when the whole tour happens and stuff, because you do know people. I want you to actually ask people that question, because you do know more than I do, so I'm not questioning you from that perspective. But I'm just saying I think you're wrong. I'm not. They're going to draw more. They're going to draw more than they did with Mike Mangini.
I do want to.
It's just a fact.
I want to stop you though, Aiken. That's not the compliment you think it is, saying that he knows that you know more than he does. Let's just set the record straight on that.
John doesn't know a fucking thing, so. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, what do you think it's going to be?
I think Enemy Inside is not a bad. Enemy Inside, Tethered Angel. Immediacy, kind of Power of the Alien, something in that vein. You sort of mix the best of, not to do, since we did a Sammy, best of both worlds pun, but the prog with probably a big chorus and probably a heavy catchy riff, and more mainstream than it's not gonna, the first single is not going to be 14 minutes. I would have a hard time believing that.
Yeah. No, I just, whatever it is, I have a hard time believing it's going to be crappy. I mean, they were, they were on kind of a good writing roll with the last two records, Distance Over Time and View from the Top of the World. And to have Portnoy back in the mix, adding to that. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, let's just do it that way. What if you took Distance Over Time and A View from the Top of the World, but added Portnoy's songwriting influence to it, where it's a little more rock, a little more aggressive, a little heavier. I would say a little more melodic. He does add a certain amount of melody to it because he's got a very melodic sense to him. I mean, how would that suck? I mean, think about it.
I will say Portnoy, and this is nothing against Mangini, possibly Portnoy inputs on the last album might have helped a little. I don't want to fuck around with Distance Over Time, dude. I think they just absolutely hit that home run out of the park, and I don't want to mess with that.
I love you so much for saying that. That record just doesn't get enough love, so I'm 100% with you on that. Yeah, I was surprised to hear you say that about A View from the Top of the World, because I thought that was like a damn near perfect record for you.
No, there's a few spots on there that I'd be interested to see. The title track alone, I love it, but I feel like there's parts that maybe Portnoy would have said, hey, let's throw in a little more vocal, me throwing some crazy stuff in here, whatever. Let's maybe change up a little bit of, if you have a B or a C part riff, John, maybe put that in here. I would be interested to see something like that. Again, I'm talking minimal sprinkling in, but yeah, Distance Over Time, man, let's not jack around with that.
Yeah, dude, if they put out a record that good again, I'd be thrilled with it. But again, I've always thought that album just doesn't get nearly enough love. I think that record gets buried because the fans that are not Mangini fans, the ones that have never let go of, bring back Portnoy. I think they like willfully blind themselves to that album because it actually is kick ass. I mean, how do you say no to songs like Barstool Warrior, like Pale Blue Dot? I mean, Out of Reach. I mean, goddamn. Like,
well, it's also the only one really without a true ginormous epic long song on it. I mean, I guess Dramatic Turn doesn't really. What do we have? Like 10 minutes on.
What I mean, Breaking All Illusions is what, 12 or 13 or something?
I don't think it's that long, is it? I think it's around 11. I could be wrong.
We always get that wrong. It's we always talk about songs that are way shorter than they feel like.
Well, I do know for a fact, I'm 100% sure Distance Over Time, there's no super long epic songs on there. And I think that helped. I think that helps that album, honestly. I think if it had one, I think it would fuck it up royally. I think the way that's tracked is perfect.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But again, and I also think there's an energy to it that isn't on a lot of the there's an energy to it that isn't on the other Mangini records. It's like, I mean, and we talked about this when we did our deep dive. It's like you as a musician, this. There is a very big difference between sitting there in a room with guys and writing music, and you play a riff and one of your guys like, oh, what if we did this, and he bounces it, and the other guy goes, what if we do this, like that energy, that creative spark and everything. It's just, you can't replicate that by sending files back and forth on the computer. And for them to live together kind of old school the way bands used to do it, like, I think it shows on that album. So I think that's why that record stands out. Honestly, I literally have only one complaint about that album, and it's just that the mastering is quiet. If you put that up against the other albums, it's low in the mix. I'm like, God damn it, crank this thing. It's like,
yeah, I know you. I think you brought it up, and there's a few other people. I guess I just never noticed it, but not that I don't disagree, but.
Well, it's when you listen to it back to back with other stuff, you're like, shit, I gotta turn Distance Over Time up. Like,
yeah.
All right, so See Steamer, and we'll get out of here pretty soon. This was supposed to be like a quick thing, and we did a full episode. So hey, we skipped last night, but you got another episode. There you go, guys.
This counts for 2 weeks from now too.
Exactly. We're taking off in 2 weeks. So See Steamer says Portnoy's biggest contribution musically is arrangement. He has a gift of arranging riffs and ideas into a song, not to mention track ordering and set list creation. JG3 agrees with that completely. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that too. The set list creation is definitely something we talked about a lot on our episode when it was announced he was coming back to the band. Like, are they going to go back to the rotating set lists and throwing things in, and or are they going to stick more to track stuff? It's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be real interesting to see. I also have some other inside information about the live show, by the way, the video presentation, but I can't say anything because I don't know for sure. And also, the person involved has not said, yeah, go ahead and talk about it. So, but the visual presentation might change. We don't know that for sure, but
you wonder who that person is.
Well, shut up. So, here, yeah, okay. So JG3, he says the problem with Distance Over Time is I think they put the 5.1 mix on streaming services, which makes it really quiet. If you have the regular CD version, it sounds perfect. Thank you for telling me that, because then I will go buy a CD version and keep it in my car, because I've got a 2016. I have one of the last models that has a CD player on it. That's got to be that's an excellent point, because that's got to be why it's quieter than everything else. It was really surprising to me. So, and by the way, I have never understood. Oh, here's a 5.1 surround sound mix. Like, it's not a fucking movie. Like, is it cool? Yeah.
Unless you have like the full surround sound theater speakers in your house, does it matter that much? You know?
That's what I'm like, I don't get it.
I mean, it doesn't make sense too, but though, about it being, I mean, they did a whole, I can't remember the name of the movie. It's a whole documentary on this idea of, okay, when you compress the shit out of these files, you know, you take all the balls and meat out of them, and you're listening to them on your phone, and it's just really kind of sort of killed the essence of live rock music and sort of recording in that environment, you know.
Well, I mean, and the word compression says it all right there, Brian. I mean, if it's this big, and I'm purposely keeping my hands in frame, so this is going to be great for the people listening to the podcast. But I mean, if it's this big with the original recording, and then you compress it to fit, you're doing that with it. Like, your compression by nature, the definition of the word is making things smaller. Like, it's not gonna sound as good. So
if it's this big and you compress it, that's what she said. It's definitely going to be smaller. It does make for a great listening experience.
Oh my God,
we
that's
use
awesome.
Video cues.
AJ and I in the Nerf Herder Council, we call them our audio viewers.
Yeah, nice.
So, like, this one's for all of our audio viewers out there. But all right, so why don't we close up shop here? A couple quick show notes, like we said last night, guys. Don't forget, we are going to be back in 2 weeks on Thursday, November 30th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are going to be doing our ranking of the songs on Octavarium.
No, actually, we're pushing that back. That's my pre-birthday show, remember?
I thought your pre-birthday show was the one after that.
You mean it's going to be after my birthday? We're going to do the pre-birthday show after my actual birthday?
Look, man, I know it's your 80th, but I don't know when your birthday is. I mean,
12/1, Friday.
All right. So you're picking the topic for that one. So Brian's birthday show will be on November 30th. You know what would have been awesome, by the way, is if you'd have clarified this with me, made sure I knew before I did a whole goddamn announcement yesterday and said it wrong for an entire 7 fucking minutes. That would have been awesome.
Well, I'm sorry that someone I thought was a true friend of mine actually knew when the fuck my birthday was, but I guess that was way too much responsibility to put on you.
Look, man, I can't be too much of a good friend. You never invite me over to hang out at your swimming pool, so.
Hey, I haven't been invited once to come to your new house.
Because I feel like you look down your nose at me. You don't want me at your pool.
Come on, that's not true. I tried to invite you 12 different times. Oh, dude, I totally would, except I just decided we're going to do this with this and this and this.
I have to bust your balls, especially because it's in a public forum. Yeah,
it is.
Oh, truth be told, guys, Brian invites me over to his pool every other week. He's like, dude, you want to come over like this? I'm like, but it's always in the summer when I'm playing with the band. I'm like, God damn it, I got a show.
Yeah, I mean, I never invite you over in February to come to my pool. I don't know what it is.
Well, but even on Sundays, let's make it a Sunday. I'm like, dude, I get home at 5 a.m. from Lima. I don't want to jump up and drive an hour and 10 minutes. So it is my fault. It's my fault. It's my fault.
It's fine.
Yes.
I've still never been invited to your house. That's okay.
Well, you know what? Speaking of my house, I forgot. I was going to plug this for you. So, okay. Brian, you actually played a gig with your band 15 minutes from me a couple weekends ago, and I went, and you did a kick-ass solo piano version of "Living on a Prayer."
Well, thanks. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, guys, I'm not just saying this because he's one of my closest friends, man. It was really, really good. He went into it. Brian's doing the piano and stuff, and he started singing it and everything, and got to the chorus. I'm thinking, okay, this is gonna be one of those moments where the band's gonna kick in. It's this cool intro. No, he went through the whole damn thing. I was like, that is badass. It really sounded great, dude. I'm not to blow smoke, but I thought it was awesome. I told you that night, but I thought it was great. So
no, I appreciate that. And shout out to our guitar player, Tim Morgan. He did the kind of the Richie parts. And yeah, we sort of, I've been screwing around with that dumb arrangement for 20 years. I heard an acoustic version of just what the guitar is now.
Yeah, I didn't want to get into all that detail, Brian. Let's keep the show on track here. Sorry, I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist.
Fine, man.
Keep going. You've been working on that arrangement for years.
Nobody wants to hear some clown in his basement talk about how he came up with to play the chords on piano for Living on a Prayer. So.
No, dude, it was good. It was good, man. You know, people actually give a shit about.
So, no, I mean, I doubt they do, but no, it was fun, man. I mean, yeah, I heard an acoustic version on guitar and thought, let's do this on piano, and I don't know, I've been screwing around with it forever, and finally kind of got a decent sort of arrangement I like, and having Tim and I just sort of singing, and like it's kind of like you said, people are like expecting the full band to go into it, and I'm like, let's just do it like this, you know. So it was awesome. You showed up. I didn't even know you were there because the lights. This is going to sound like rocks. This is going to sound like a humble brag. The lights were blinding me. You know what I mean? Like there was like 5,000.
You're blinded by the lights.
Yeah, like there's 6,000 and telebeams shining down on me. No, it wasn't like that at all. This is just a freaking scummy club in Medina, and like. I'll have to tell you some horror stories about the sound check before that. But yeah, and I look out because I was like, I said, "Can somebody bring me a beer?" And then all of a sudden you start walking up, and I'm like, "What the?" You had been there a while, and I was like, I guess I was staring right at you, but I couldn't see you because the lights. But
yeah, I could tell you couldn't see him, and the way that the light rig was set up it was obvious that it was kind of blinding.
That's light. The fact that you actually just use the term light rig, that's like. I mean, that's giving it way too much credit, I think.
Yeah, that I think that would be one of those places that would be fun to play as a musician. Because personally, I love dumpy bar gigs because you can really just play whatever you want. If you get a little too drunk, like people just like kind of expect it because they're a little too drunk too. Like it's kind of like raw rock and roll. But that one is ruined by the owner guy. Like from what you told me, it's a whole nother story. We won't get into that, but that you know that guy.
The people that were there were great, though, man. I mean, even like their regulars were like, yeah, you know, we heard you guys were here, and then they're asking, do you guys know this? And we're like, yeah, we can play, you know, a couple whatever, and it was fun. It's just so cool you came out, man. I mean, it's awesome when, you know, just people show up to go see your dumb ass do whatever.
No, dude, I'm you're more than welcome. Like I said, it was so close. I was like, God damn, like, and truth be told, I was tired as hell. It's long week at work and everything, and I was just like, man, I don't know. And Steph was like, look, I gotta be honest, like I want to go see Hendrickson, but I'm dead tired. So if you're going, I'm not. And I was like, you know what, when am I ever gonna get to see one of my best buddies, like, and I only have to drive 15 minutes to do it. So I was like, fuck it, dude, like let's, you know.
That's like the old joke. How do you know a lawyer is lying if they're about this movie? When someone says, "I got to be honest, I really want to go see Hendrickson," that's how you know someone is incapable of telling the truth at any point in time.
Now, you know Steph loves you. You know she would have been there with me. Man. Apparently, your wife doesn't love you though because she wasn't with you.
No, so. she wasn't making that trip.
So yeah, but no, it was cool to see you, man. I thought it was a great show. Like, thanks for getting me up on stage to do a little Van Halen, and
yeah, that sounded great, man.
That was fun. I was afraid of blowing out the PA because I'm always louder than whoever is the singer, but I was like, I kind of tried to read the room and like hold the mic off, and you know, but it sounded great and it was fun, dude. You and I never ever get to play music together, so that was a fucking blast. That was really cool. Yeah. So. But yeah, so 2 weeks, guys. It'll be Thursday, November 30th. It'll be Hendrickson's birthday show. So he's going to choose the topic. I don't know what it is, so it's going to be like a potluck, basically.
I think I'm going to have to give you some homework. Otherwise, the topic's probably not going to work.
Okay. So you already have a topic in mind.
I'm floating around a couple. So I don't want to make it too difficult on you. So I'll probably send you like 5 to 8 songs or something. I think that's what we're going to do.
If you're going to go back to your why Wham is better than Pantera idea, I'm not showing up.
Oh, God. Okay, that was good.
Aiken. Topic. All guitarists that rule, not named Eddie Van Halen.
Right.
Oh, I can do that.
A topic, something that's not Dream Theater, Star Wars, or Van Halen. John's like, nah, I don't think I'm going to be able to comment at all.
I'm busy that night.
Yeah. or the Browns.
Right. But yeah, all right. So Thursday, November 30th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right at our normal locations. It's going to be Hendrickson's birthday show. 2 weeks after that, It will be Thursday, December 14th, and we are going to be ranking the songs of Octavarium. And then, as we have been promoting for a while now, Friday, December 22nd is going to be the annual fan hangout show. So if you guys want to jump on camera and co-host with Brian and I for a bit, just shoot us an email at talkingintoinfinity@gmail.com. Let us know if you'd like to come on camera, and it's a free-for-all. It usually goes for a few hours. We end up pretty drunk. It's just a great night to hang out, celebrate the holidays, and just talk music with all of you guys actually on camera, not just in the chat. We've already got some guests lined up. We've got Chastity Crawley coming on, Kale McLeish. You guys have seen them before, obviously. You guys are familiar with them. But we've got Hennig from Germany coming on. He actually worked with Dream Theater over in Germany. He was their worked for their label over there back in the mid to late 90s, and so he's got some great stories about that. So we're going to have him on. And if you guys want to jump on and talk about whatever, I believe we might have Everett Painter on from Dream Theater USA, the Dream Theater fan club. So we're definitely going to have some cool stuff that night. So make sure you tune into that. And if you want to jump on camera, again, talkingintoinfinity@gmail.com. Brian, have you chosen your beverage of choice for the fan hangout yet before we go?
No, I'm going to have to really think long and hard on that one. I got to come up with something new. So give me time.
Okay. Obviously, I will be doing gorilla farts. It is a show tradition. I hate you for bringing those up because it made me go, I have to try this, and I'll do it on camera. And now that I've done it, it's just a dumb tradition. I think I'm the only one that considers it a tradition, but
I don't want to feel like complete shit for a week, so I'm not going to be doing gorilla farts.
I've told people, like, if you ever wonder if they're really, I've told people about, doing that on the show. And I'm like, if you wonder if they're really that bad, just go look at the first few minutes of those shows and look at my face. Like, normally you could do like a shot and you'd be like, man, oh, that's bad. You just kind of a little bit of a shot face. Like mine is like, I drink and you're just like, yeah, just ugh. Look at this. All right. So JG3, a couple things, then we'll get out of here. Jay says, maybe I should come on. You guys aren't ready for me. Them's fighting words. We've had Chris Aiken on, Jay. No. If I can handle Chris Aiken, if I can handle podcasting with Chris Aiken, I can handle pretty much anybody.
If we can handle the guy that's the reason for our entire existence,
yeah,
we wouldn't even be here.
Yeah, and now JG3 just right as we invited him on, we are disinviting him as he says a 2-hour discussion about Risk. No, wrong. Might get banned for the chat from that.
One of my favorite board games of all time. Seriously.
Well played. And then JG3 with a horrible beer take. Great Lakes Christmas Ale is the go-to holiday beer for me. I'm not going to say you're wrong because everybody loves that here in Cleveland, Jay. But I will say that I can't stand any Christmas ale. Love all the pumpkin beers. Dislike all the Christmas ales. Something about it is just gross.
I mean, the thing with Christmas ale is like you have 1.5 and it's like, all right, well, I'll see you tomorrow. You know what I mean? It's right. Like that's really about all you can do.
This is hilarious, man. Aiken, even Megadeth won't engage in that Risk discussion. And Jay is shocked about my comment about Christmas ale. So yeah, we can discuss that on the fan hangout. Jay, there you go. So anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. This is supposed to be just a little like 15-20 minute thing, maybe at most, and here we are bullshitting music. So thank you guys very much for tuning in. We appreciate you guys. Jay, awesome to see you. Aiken, thanks for tuning in. You've always got some great input for us. Joe Gebhardt, Sea Steamer, eventually I'll get your last name right. Discuss Metal Joe, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, we're going to be right back here in 2 weeks on Thursday, November 30th. It's going to be Hendrickson's birthday show. He's going to give me homework, so we will announce that show topic here within the next week or so, and we'll be right back. So guys, one more time, cheers up to Charlie Dominici. Absolutely sucks to lose a member of the Dream Theater family, but we do have Mike Portnoy back, so hey, where there's bad news, there's good news. So appreciate you guys tuning in, and as always, guys, till next time, carpe